it, losers!
Leave us alone!
We are not scared of you!
Oh, please leave us alone.
Get out of our way!
In Bullies target Black Farm Girl's twin, but she is a ruthless Jiu Jitsu fighter. The story follows Alaya James, a fiery young fighter from a struggling black farming family, who will do anything to protect her gentle twin sister Amina from relentless bullying in a racially hostile school, from the early cruelty of classmates and a principal who manipulates the system against them, to the humiliations that drive Alaya into violent defense. Every chapter burns with systemic racism, betrayal, and silence that protects abusers until Alaya's breaking point ignites viral chaos, her fists becoming both her curse and her weapon. With family tensions, false allies, and a community divided, the James sisters are dragged into a storm of protests, leaked scandals, and town hall reckonings that finally toppled the corrupt giants who tried to crush them, leaving behind ashes, reckoning, and the unbreakable truth that though the world demands they kneel, they will not break, they will not vanish, and the weight of tomorrow will be carried together. The morning sun bled over the fields, painting the red clay in gold. Dust rose behind the old pickup as Alaya and Amina walked the dirt road toward the school bus. Stop. Amina clutched her backpack, tight eyes low. She hated mornings. Not because of the farm chores, not because of the long ride. It was the bus, the stairs, the whispers, the laughter. Keep your chin up, Alaya murmured, brushing sweat from her forehead. They smell fear like hogs. I'm not afraid, Amina whispered, though her voice trembled. You are, Alaya said, and it's fine. That's why you got me. The bus squealed to a stop. The driver, Mr. Calloway, barely looked at them. He never greeted them. The twins stepped on, and silence fell like a curtain. From the back, a voice cut through. Here come the farm crows. Snickers erupted. Amina froze. Alaya's jaw tightened. Another voice mocking, sharp, bet their daddy still picks cotton. Amina shrank into herself, but Alaya forced her forward, shoving her gently down the aisle. Don't listen, Alaya muttered, but Amina did. Every word carved into her chest. They slid into a seat. A wadded piece of paper hit Amina's hair. Laughter followed. You two smell like the barn, a boy sneered. Alaya turned, her eyes sharp. Say that again. The boy grinned, emboldened. Barn girls, dirty barn girls. The bus roared with laughter. Alaya rose halfway, her fists curling, but Amina tugged her sleeve. Please, don't. Alaya sat back, but her stare didn't leave the boy. The bus rolled on, tension heavy. When they reached school, the insults followed them down the hallway. Lockers slammed, whispered slurs. Teachers looked away. Amina moved slower, her voice shrinking with each step. At lunch, they sat alone. A group of girls passed by, wrinkling their noses. Smells like fertilizer. Alaya slammed her tray down. Why don't you say it to my face? The girls laughed nervously. Touchy, aren't you? Amina whispered. Please, just eat. Alaya's knuckles whitened on her fork. She stayed silent for now. The bus ride home was worse. Near the end, the same boy from the morning leaned over the seat. Hey, barn crow, why's your skin so dark? Did the sun burn it on the fields? Amina's hands shook. She didn't answer. Leave her alone, Alaya snapped. The boy smirked. Or, what? In a blur, Alaya's hand shot out, gripping his wrist. She twisted, and he yelped, collapsing against the seat. Gasps erupted. You'll leave her alone, Alaya said. Voice calm, deadly. The boy's face turned red. You broke my arm. The bus driver shouted. Alaya, sit down. Alaya released him. He cradled his arm, glaring with hate. The bus driver barked again. One more stunt like that, girl, and you're off this bus for good. Silence. Amina's eyes filled with tears. Why'd you do that? She whispered when the bus rolled again. Because, if I don't fight for you, who will? Alaya said. Amina turned to the window, tears sliding silently. Alaya clenched her fists, staring at the horizon. Dust swirled in the dying light, the world golden and cruel. She knew this was only the beginning. The next morning, Amina dragged her feet through the school entrance. The hallway buzzed with laughter, chatter, and locker doors slamming shut. Yet when the twins walked in, the noise shifted. Whispers, snickers, heads turning. Alaya's gaze swept the hallway like a blade. Eyes front, she told her sister. They feed off seeing you flinch. Amina nodded faintly, clutching her books tighter. Two boys leaned against the lockers, smirking. Careful, one muttered loudly. The fighter's here. Don't break my arm, Crow. Students around them chuckled. Alaya froze, turning slowly. Say it again. The boy grinned wider. Crow. Amina tugged her arm, pleading, please, just go. Alaya's jaw locked, but she moved on, guiding her sister down the hall. The laughter followed like smoke. By second period, Amina's books were missing. She searched frantically through her bag, her locker, the floor. Nothing. Alaya noticed the smirks around the classroom. She whispered, who took them? No one answered. That the teacher, Mrs. Carter, sighed loudly. Girls, sit down. You're holding up the lesson. My sister's books are gone. Alaya shot back. Mrs. Carter folded her arms. Then she should have been more responsible. Alaya's chest tightened. They were stolen. A ripple of laughter moved through the class. Mrs. Carter's tone sharpened. Enough. Sit down, or I'll write you up. Amina touched her sister's wrist. Please, let it go. Alaya sat, her stomach burning. She stared at the chalkboard, but the words blurred. At lunch, Amina sat silently at their corner table, chewing without appetite. Eat, Alaya urged. I'm not hungry. You need strength. I just want to go home, Amina whispered. Before Alaya could reply, a group of girls walked past their table, snickering. One dropped Amina's missing books onto the table, ripped, covered in marker. Across the cover, in thick black ink, one word stood out. N***********. Alaya's chest went cold. The girls burst out laughing. Oops, guess those are yours. Amina's face crumpled. She clutched the books to her chest, shaking. Alaya stood. Her voice was a low growl. Which one of you did this? The girls froze, glancing at each other. One smirked, but didn't answer. Alaya slammed her hand on the table. I said, which one of you? Gasps rippled through the cafeteria. Teachers turned, but too slowly. Amina gripped her arm, sobbing. Stop, please. A teacher finally intervened. Alaya, that's enough. She vandalized my sister's books. Quiet. The teacher's face hardened. Office now, but they now. Alaya's fists shook, but she grabbed her bag and stormed out. The principal's office smelled of stale coffee and authority. Principal Hargrove leaned back in his chair, his face carved with lines of irritation. You again, he said flatly. Alaya crossed her arms. My sister's books were vandalized. They wrote. He held up a hand. I've already spoken to the lunch monitors. They said you were shouting and threatening other students. They defaced her books with racial slurs. He folded his hands. Do you have proof? Alaya blinked. The books, I'll look into it. In the meantime, your behavior was unacceptable. You'll serve a 3-day suspension. Alaya's jaw dropped. You're suspending me, not them. Watch your tone, he said coldly. You're already walking a thin line. Young Lady Alaya leaned forward, her voice trembling with rage. So they can call us names, destroy our things, and you do nothing. But, when I defend my sister, I'm the problem. The principal's eyes narrowed. You're dismissed. Her fists tightened at her sides, nails digging into her palms. She wanted to scream, to flip his desk, to choke the smug authority out of him, but she swallowed it. Barely. She turned and walked out. Amina was waiting in the hallway, eyes swollen from crying. What happened? She whispered. Alaya forced her voice steady. Suspended. Amina's face fell. It's my fault. If I wasn't so weak, don't say that. I keep dragging you down. Alaya's throat ached. No, they're the ones dragging us down, but everyone believes them, Amina said, her voice hollow. Alaya touched her shoulder gently. Then we'll stop asking for belief. We'll make them see. Amina shook her head, tears spilling again. No, Alaya, if you keep fighting, they'll destroy us. The hallway buzzed with voices, lockers slamming, laughter echoing. But for the twins, the world had narrowed to silence, unbearable, suffocating silence. Alaya clenched her fists. She wasn't afraid of fists, bruises, or even suspension. But the silence of teachers, of the system, of those who looked away. That silence was the sharpest blade of all, and she swore it would not cut her sister down. The next morning, Amina dragged her feet through the school entrance. The hallway buzzed with laughter, chatter, and locker doors slamming shut. Yet when the twins walked in, the noise shifted. Whispers, snickers, heads turning. Alaya's gaze swept the hallway like a blade. Eyes front, she told her sister. They feed off seeing you flinch. Amina nodded faintly, clutching her books tighter. 2 boys leaned against the lockers, smirking. Careful, one muttered loudly. The fighter's here. Don't break my arm, Crow. Students around them chuckled. Alaya froze, turning slowly. Say it again. The boy grinned wider. Crow. Amina tugged her arm, pleading. Please, just go. Alaya's jaw locked, but she moved on, guiding her sister down the hall. The laughter followed like smoke. By second period, Amina's books were missing. She searched frantically through her bag, her locker, the floor. Nothing. Alaya noticed the smirks around the classroom. She whispered, "Who took them?" No one answered. The teacher, Mrs. Carter, sighed loudly. "Girls, sit down. You're holding up the lesson. My sister's books are gone." Alaya shot back. Mrs. Carter folded her arms. Then she should have been more responsible. Alaya's chest tightened. They were stolen. A ripple of laughter moved through the class. Mrs. Carter's tone sharpened. "Enough. Sit down, or I'll write you up." Amina touched her sister's wrists. "Please, let it go." Alaya sat, her stomach burning. She stared at the chalkboard, but the words blurred. At lunch, Amina sat silently at their corner table, chewing without appetite. "Eat," Alaya urged. "I'm not hungry. You need strength." "I just want to go home," Amina whispered. Before Alaya could reply, a group of girls walked past their table, snickering. One dropped Amina's missing books onto the table, defaced, ripped, covered in marker. Across the cover, in thick black ink, one word stood out. N asterisk 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 asterisk. Alaya's chest went cold. The girls burst out laughing. "Oops, guess those are yours." Amina's face crumpled. She clutched the books to her chest, shaking. Alaya stood. Her voice was a low growl. "Which one of you did this?" The girls froze, glancing at each other. One smirked, but didn't answer. Alaya slammed her hand on the table. "I said, which one of you?" Gasps rippled through the cafeteria. Teachers turned, but too slowly. Amina gripped her arm, sobbing. "Stop, please." A teacher finally intervened. "Alaya, that's enough. She vandalized my sister's books." "Quiet." The teacher's face hardened. "Office, now." "But they now." Alaya's fists shook. But she grabbed her bag and stormed out. The principal's office smelled of stale coffee and authority. Principal Hargrove leaned back in his chair, his face carved with lines of irritation. "You again," he said flatly. Alaya crossed her arms. "My sister's books were vandalized. They wrote," he held up a hand. "I've already spoken to the lunch monitors. They said you were shouting and threatening other students. They defaced her books, with racial slurs." He folded his hands. "Do you have proof?" Alaya blinked. "The books, I'll look into it. In the meantime, your behavior was unacceptable. You'll serve a 3-day suspension." Alaya's jaw dropped. "You're suspending me, not them." "Watch your tone," he said coldly. "You're already walking a thin line." "Young lady," Alaya leaned forward, her voice trembling with rage. "So they can call us names, destroy our things, and you do nothing. But when I defend my sister, I'm the problem." The principal's eyes narrowed. "You're dismissed." Her fists tightened at her sides, nails digging into her palms. She wanted to scream, to flip his desk, to choke the smug authority out of him, but she swallowed it. Barely. She turned and walked out. Amina was waiting in the hallway, eyes swollen from crying. "What happened?" she whispered. Alaya forced her voice steady. "Suspended." Amina's face fell. "It's my fault. If I wasn't so weak." "Don't say that. I keep dragging you down." Alaya's throat ached. "No, they're the ones dragging us down. But everyone believes them," Amina said, her voice hollow. Alaya touched her shoulder gently. "Then we'll stop asking for belief. We'll make them see." Amina shook her head, tears spilling again. "No, Alaya. If you keep fighting, they'll destroy us." The hallway buzzed with voices, lockers slamming, laughter echoing. But for the twins, the world had narrowed to silence, on unbearable, suffocating silence. Alaya clenched her fists. She wasn't afraid of fists, bruises, or even suspension. But the silence of teachers, of the system, of those who looked away, that silence was the sharpest blade of all, and she swore it would not cut her sister down. The school smelled like disinfectant and cafeteria grease. Alaya walked into the principal's office again, shoulders squared, jaw locked. Amina trailed behind, silent as a shadow. Principal Hargrove looked up from his desk, irritation already etched in his face. "Miss Green," he said flatly. "I'm not surprised." Alaya crossed her arms. "My sister's being harassed every day. You know it. Everyone knows it." He leaned back in his chair, lips curling into something between a smirk and a sigh. "What I know," he said, "is that you've become a disruption. Teachers complain, you challenge them. Students say you're aggressive. And now you've been suspended once already. That's because you protect the ones doing it." "Careful," Hargrove warned, his voice low. "Watch your tone." Amina whispered, "Alaya, please." But Alaya pressed on. They wrote slurs on her books. They shoved her in the hallway. And nothing happens to them. Nothing. Hargrove's eyes sharpened. Do you have proof? Witnesses? Because all I see is a pattern. Your sister gets upset, and you explode. You make it worse. Alaya's fists clenched. So it's our fault, for being targets. The principal spread his hands, feigning patience. Sometimes, victims invite trouble by reacting the wrong way. Amina's breath hitched. She lowered her gaze to the floor. Alaya snapped. So now you're blaming her, blaming me. You let them do it. Hargrove's smile was thin, deliberate. You'd better watch yourself, Miss Green. Pretz. Outbursts, they don't end well for students like you. Alaya's voice dropped. Dangerous. Students like me. His silence was the answer. When they left the office, the hallway felt colder. Amina walked quickly, head bowed. Say something, Alaya urged. Amina's voice was thin. What's the point? The point is, no. Amina spun, startling her. Her eyes brimmed with tears. Every time you fight, they punish you. And I'm the reason. I'm the reason you're in trouble. The reason Daddy's upset. The reason Mama cries at night. Alaya shook her head fiercely. Don't you ever blame yourself. But it's true, Amina whispered. Her voice cracked. If I wasn't here, they wouldn't have anything to use against you. Alaya's heart twisted. If you weren't here, I wouldn't have anything worth fighting for. Amina looked away, shoulders trembling. By afternoon, the whispers turned into shoves. In the hallway, a girl slammed Amina's shoulder with her book bag. Oops, she sneered. Didn't see you there. Amina froze. Students laughed. Teachers glanced, then kept walking. Alaya stepped forward, fury in her eyes. Touch her again, the girl smirked. Or what? You'll choke me out, fighter girl. Alaya advanced, but Amina grabbed her arm. Please, don't. The laughter rang louder. Every chuckle felt like a chain around Alaya's throat. She wanted to swing, to drop the girl with one strike, but Amina's pleading eyes held her back. Instead, she hissed, one day, you'll regret every word. The girl rolled her eyes. Big talk, but you'll be gone before then. That evening, the twins sat in their room, the lamp throwing weak light on the peeling wallpaper. Amina sat cross-legged on the bed, voice low. It's like, no matter what we do, it's wrong. If we stay quiet, they laugh. If you fight back, they punish. The game is rigged. Alaya nodded slowly. Exactly. That's the point. They want us broken either way. Then, what do we do? Alaya stared out the window at the dark fields. We changed the rules. The next morning, Alaya returned to school despite her suspension. She walked straight into the front office. The secretary frowned. You're not supposed to be here. I need to see Hargrove, Alaya said firmly. When she entered his office, he looked up, annoyed. You're suspended, Miss Green. Do you not understand what that means? Alaya placed Amina's vandalized books on his desk. The words scrawled across the cover screamed in the silence between them. You see this? She asked, voice steady. He barely glanced. I'll add destruction of property to your file. Her chest tightened. They did this. And yet here you are, bringing it to me like evidence. You think this helps you? You're corrupt, Alaya spat. He leaned forward, eyes cold, careful. You keep this up, I'll recommend expulsion. Then what? No diploma. No future. Alaya leaned closer, meeting his gaze without flinching. Better no diploma than no soul. Hargrove's lips curled. You'll learn. Sooner or later, every one of your kind does. Her nails dug into her palms, blood rising under her skin. For a split second, she imagined vaulting the desk, wrapping her arms around his neck until his smug smile broke. But she didn't move. Not yet. She gathered the books, turned, and walked out without another word. In the hallway, Amina waited. Her eyes searched Alaya's face. What happened? Alaya exhaled slowly. He thinks he's winning. He thinks this game is his. And is it? Amina whispered. Alaya's eyes hardened. Not for long. That night, as the crickets sang in the dark fields, Alaya sat awake, whispering to herself, they'll push, they'll twist, they'll bury us in silence, but I'll burn through it. I'll burn every lie they tell. Her fists closed, steady and merciless. The game's not theirs anymore. It began at the end of the school day. Amina was waiting by the steps, books hugged tight to her chest. Alaya was late, held back by a teacher who'd accidentally misplaced her homework. That was when they struck. 3 girls surrounded Amina, cornering her against the wall. One held up a phone, recording. Hey, Crow, the leader sneered. Smile for the camera. Amina's stomach twisted. Please, leave me alone. Ah, she's shy. Another girl mocked. Maybe she'll sing us a field song. Laughter exploded. The phone zoomed in on Amina's face, catching every flinch. The leader yanked Amina's backpack, spilling her books across the concrete. She pressed a boot down on the pages. Oops, stop, Amina cried, crouching. The girl kicked the books away. No, you stop existing. Students gathered in a circle, phones out. No teacher intervened. Tears blurred Amina's vision. Why are you doing this? Because we can, the leader whispered, close to her ear. By the time Alaya arrived, the crowd was roaring with laughter. She pushed through the circle, fury already crackling. What the hell is this? She demanded. Amina looked up, cheeks streaked with tears. Alaya, the leader smirked. Oh, look, the fighter's here. Don't break my arm this time. Alaya's gaze snapped to the phone still recording. Delete it. The girl grinned wider. Oh no, this one's gold. Your sister crying, begging, gonna be all over Snap before dinner. Something in Alaya's chest snapped. Put it down, she warned. The girl tilted her head. Or what? Alaya's voice dropped. Lethal, or I'll make you. She moved before anyone breathed. Alaya grabbed the girl's wrist, twisting it backward until the phone clattered to the ground. Gasps rang out. The girl screamed, stumbling. She attacked me. Alaya pivoted, hooked her leg, and swept the second girl off her feet. The crowd scattered, phones shaking as they filmed from a distance. The third swung wildly, but Alaya ducked, slammed her shoulder into the girl's gut, and sent her sprawling. Stop, Amina cried, but her voice was drowned by the chaos. Alaya pinned the leader against the wall, forearm pressing into her throat. Say one more word about my sister. The girl choked, eyes wide. Say it, Alaya hissed. I can't, the girl gasped. Good, Alaya spat, shoving her away. The courtyard fell into stunned silence. Phones kept rolling. Every second was captured. Amina clung to her, voice trembling. You shouldn't have. They were destroying you, Alaya snapped. They'll destroy you now, Amina whispered. That night, the video spread. It was on Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok. One clip showed Amina crying, surrounded. Another showed Alaya's violent precision. Each move ruthless. Comments poured in. Crazy, farm girls, should lock her up. Damn, she fights like a man. Bet her daddy taught her in the barn. Look at that savage face. Amina scrolled through, tears dripping onto her phone. They're calling you a monster. Alaya sat at the edge of the bed, jaw hard. Let them. But the video, everyone's sharing it. Even kids from other schools. Alaya's chest tightened, but her voice stayed calm. At least now they see who I am. Amina shook her head. No, Alaya. They see what they want. A violent black girl. A thug. You gave them proof. Alaya's hands curled into fists. I gave them truth. The next day, the principal's office was waiting. Hargrove's voice thundered. This is unacceptable. You assaulted 3 students on school grounds. They cornered my sister. They recorded her humiliation. You saw the video. I saw a dangerous young woman attacking her classmates. And thanks to that little stunt, the whole county has seen it too. Alaya glared at him. So what's my punishment now? Expulsion? He leaned forward, voice low and venomous. Expulsion is the least of your worries. The sheriff's been informed. Amina gasped. Sheriff, for defending me. Hargrove's lips curled. Actions have consequences. And your sister will learn that. Alaya's voice cut sharp. So will you. That evening, their father paced the kitchen. His face was stone. You fought them on camera, he growled. They were hurting her, Alaya said. And now the law's coming for you. Do you understand what that means? They'll brand you violent, dangerous. They'll come to this farm and take you away. Alaya met his rage head. Then let them. I won't live kneeling. Ezra slammed his fist on the table. And what about us? You think they won't take this land if you give them reason? This farm is all we have. Amina sobbed quietly. She only wanted to protect me. Ezra's shoulders shook. For a long moment, silence hung. Then his voice broke. Soft, almost pleading. You think fists will save us? They won't. They'll bury us. Alaya stared at the cracked wood floor, her fury churning like fire. Then let them try, she whispered. That night, alone in bed, Amina whispered into the darkness. You're going to burn us alive, Alaya whispered back, eyes open to the ceiling. No, I'm going to burn them first. The sheriff's cruiser crawled past the farm that evening, headlights sweeping over the porch. Ezra stood in the doorway, fists tight in his pockets. They're circling, he muttered. Alaya leaned on the railing, unflinching. Let them look. Ezra spun on her. You don't get it, girl. They're waiting for an excuse. One spark, and this Landauer Namit's gone. Amina sat on the steps, hugging her knees. Her voice was small. Maybe if we just stop drawing attention. Alaya cut her off. We didn't draw it. They brought it here. Ezra's voice rose. And you fed it. Every punch, every outburst. You're painting a target on all of us. For the first time, Amina nodded faintly. Daddy's right. You make it worse. The words hit harder than any fist. Alaya stared at her twin, betrayal tightening her chest. You think I'm the enemy now? Amina looked away, silent. The next day at school, whispers were louder than footsteps. Teachers stared longer. Students lifted phones whenever Alaya passed on in history class. Mrs. Douglas, one of the few teachers who'd ever offered a kind word, pulled her aside after the bell. Alaya, listen, she said gently. You've got potential, but you need to calm down. Stop reacting. They recorded my sister crying. Alaya snapped. And you want me calm? Mrs. Douglas sighed. I spoke to some parents. They're concerned. They think you're dangerous. If you could just apologize, maybe it would ease things. Alaya froze. You what? I told them you're not a bad kid, that you just get carried away. But they want reassurance. You told them. Alaya's voice rose. You're feeding them rumors. I was trying to help you. No, you were protecting them. Protecting yourself. Mrs. Douglas's face flushed. You don't understand how this works. Alaya stepped closer, voice sharp as glass. No, I do. The system works just fine. It's built to protect them and bury us. And you're part of it. The teacher's mouth opened, but no words came. Alaya walked out, chest burning, the betrayal cutting deeper than the bully's fists. At lunch, Amina sat in silence, picking at her food. Alaya dropped her tray down, eyes still burning. Guess what? Mrs. Douglas has been whispering to the bullies' parents, telling them I'm dangerous. Amina looked up, startled. She wouldn't. She did. Thought she was protecting me. She's just helping them sharpen the knives. Amina swallowed hard. Maybe she thought it was the only way. Alaya slammed her fist on the table. Stop defending them. Every time you excuse what they do, you hand them the rope. Tears welled in Amina's eyes. And every time you fight, you tighten it. The words lingered heavy between them. That night, rain pounded against the roof. The family sat around the table, supper untouched. Ezra's voice was gravel. The sheriff came by, said if there's one more incident, he'll press charges. Lena pressed her hands together. Please, Alaya, just keep your head down. For us, Alaya's jaw locked. So I let them destroy Amina, piece by piece. Smile while they kill her spirit. Ezra's hand slammed the table. Better a broken spirit than a broken neck. The storm outside echoed the storm inside. Amina whispered, I just want it to stop. Alaya turned to her. It won't stop. Not until we make it stop. No, Amina said, shaking her head. Not we. Just you. You can't see it, can you? You're dragging me under with you. Alaya's chest tightened. You think I'm the problem. Amina's silence was the answer. Alaya left the table, storming out into the rain. She walked the field until her shoes sank in mud, the water soaking her clothes. She screamed into the night, a sound swallowed by thunder. Her whole life, she had fought to protect her sister, to shield her from the hatred that hung over the town like smoke. But now, the walls of her own home were closing in, echoing the same accusations. Too loud, too violent, too dangerous. And for the first time, doubt crept in like a shadow. But only for a moment. Alaya clenched her fists, rain streaming down her face. They want me quiet, she whispered to the storm. They want me bent. She lifted her chin, but I don't break. The cafeteria was buzzing louder than usual, phones lifted like rifles. Word had spread. The bullies had planned something big. Alaya entered, shoulders squared, Amina trailing behind her like a shadow. The moment they stepped inside, silence rippled. The leader of the bullies stood on a table, phone raised. Look who it is, she called out. The violent freak and her crybaby twin. Laughter exploded. Amina froze. Alaya, let's just no. Alaya muttered, not this time. The bully hopped down, swaggering across the floor. Gonna choke me again, farm girl. Show everyone your little gorilla moves. Gasps and chuckles filled the room. Phones lifted higher. Amina whispered desperately, please, just walk away. But Alaya's eyes were locked on the girl, unblinking. You done talking? The girl smirked. Not even close. She snatched Amina's lunch tray and flung it to the floor. Oops, gasps rang out. Amina's eyes filled with tears. Alaya stepped forward. Pick it up. the bully sneered. Or what? Alaya's voice was a blade. Or I'll make you. The girl swung first, a sloppy punch meant to humiliate, not hurt. Alaya ducked. The room erupted in screams. Alaya struck back, fluid and precise. She caught the bully's wrist, twisted, and dropped her to the floor in one motion. Phones circled like vultures. Oh my God, she's insane. Someone shouted. Another rushed at her from behind. Alaya pivoted, sweeping her leg and sending the girl sprawling into a table. The third grabbed a chair, swinging it clumsily. Alaya sidestepped, wrenched it away, and tossed it aside. The crowd roared, some cheering, others jeering. Amina screamed, "Stop, please." But Alaya was a storm now, every movement sharp, merciless. She pinned the leader again, forearm pressing into her collarbone. "Say her name," Alaya snarled. The girl coughed, struggling. "WH. Say my sister's name," Alaya demanded. "Amina," she gasped. "Say it with respect, Amina." Alaya shoved her down, breathing hard. The cafeteria was chaos half, the kids chanting "Fight, fight," while others bolted for the doors. That's when the principal's voice thundered from the hallway. "Enough." Hargrove stormed in, the sheriff at his side, hand already resting on his holster. The crowd scattered, phones still recording. Hargrove's face was purple with rage. "You've gone too far this time." The sheriff pointed at Alaya. "Step away, hands behind your back." Amina ran forward, clinging to Alaya's arm. "No, she was defending me." "Step aside, girl," the sheriff ordered. Alaya stared him down, chest heaving. "You going to arrest the ones who attacked my sister too?" "They're victims," Hargrove snapped. "You're the threat." The words cut deeper than handcuffs. Alaya's fists tightened. "Of course, black girl fights Bakshi's, the monster." Same old script. The sheriff advanced, cuffs in hand. Now, the cafeteria fell silent. Dozens of phones catching every second. Ezra burst in through the side doors, his voice booming. "Get your hands off my daughter." The sheriff froze. "Ezra, this ain't your fight. It's exactly my fight." Ezra thundered. "I know what this is. You don't care about justice, you care about keeping her quiet. You're scared of a girl who won't bow." Hargrove's face twisted. "She's a danger to this school." Ezra stepped closer, pointing a trembling finger. "No, she's the mirror. She shows your cruelty for what it is, and you can't stand it." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Phones zoomed in. Alaya's voice rose, steady and defiant. "Go ahead. Cuff me. Let the world see what you do to a black girl who refuses to kneel." The sheriff hesitated, sweat beading on his temple. Students whispered, the tide shifting. "She's right. They're overreacting. Why arrest her and not them?" The pressure cracked. The sheriff lowered the cuffs slowly. "School suspension, that's it. For now." Hargrove exploded. "You can't let her walk away." But the sheriff's voice was tired. "She ain't walking away. Just not today." As they left the cafeteria, phones still recording, Amina whispered, voice shaking, "You scared me." Alaya wrapped an arm around her. "Good fear keeps you awake." Amina looked up, tears glistening. "But what if it kills us?" Alaya's gaze hardened. "Then at least they'll know we didn't go quietly that night." The videos hit the internet like wildfire. Not just Amina's tears this time, not just Alaya's violence, but the principal screaming, the sheriff hesitating, Ezra defying them all. For the first time, the narrative cracked. Some comments were venom, calling her a savage, but others began to question. Why only arrest her? They provoked her. This looks like systemic targeting. She fights like she's had to her whole life. The story was out of the school's control now, and Alaya knew the real war had only just begun. The farm was silent that night, except for the hum of crickets and the distant hiss of tires on wet gravel. Ezra sat on the porch, shotgun leaning against the wall, eyes scanning the road. Alaya paced. "They'll come again. You know it." Ezra's voice was weary. "They've already come." Cameras, questions, reporters sniffing like dogs. Lena opened the screen door, worry etched in every line of her face. "It's not safe, Ezra." The sheriff said protests are brewing outside the school. Half the town's talking. Amina stepped onto the porch, clutching her phone. Her hands shook. "It's everywhere. Twitter, Facebook. The video's been shared 1,000,000 times." Alaya froze. "And what are they saying?" Amina's voice quivered. "Half call you a thug, half called you a hero. Everyone's watching us." The next morning, they drove into town. Protesters lined the schoolyard fence. Some held signs, "Protect our kids." Others shouted, stop the violence. But across the street, another group had gathered. Their signs were different. Justice for Alaya. Bullying is violence too. The two groups screamed across the divide, voices clashing like thunder. Alaya walked between them, Amina clutching her arm. Phones rose instantly, capturing every step. Inside, Principal Hargrove was waiting, face red as fire. "You've turned the school into a circus." Ezra's voice was steady. "No, you did, when you protected bullies and punished victims." Hargrove slammed a hand on his desk. "Your daughter's suspended indefinitely, and I'll recommend expulsion." Alaya leaned forward, eyes burning. "Go ahead, expel me. The world's already seen what you are." The principal's mouth opened, but before he could speak, the door burst open. Mrs. Douglas entered, pale. "Sir, the school board is here, and the media." Hargrove stiffened. "Send them away." "You can't," she whispered. "They've seen the footage. They want answers." The boardroom was packed. Cameras flashed. Reporters leaned forward like wolves scenting blood. The school board chair cleared his throat. "We've reviewed the videos circulating. They show disturbing conduct on both sides." Hargrove cut in. "She's a violent student, a threat." Ezra rose. "She's a child who defended her sister when this school refused to." Murmurs filled the room. A reporter shouted, "Why weren't the bullies disciplined?" Hargrove's face darkened. "They're minors. Victims." Alaya's voice rang clear. "Victims." They cornered Amina, filmed her tears, and spread it like a trophy. "You call that or is it only victimhood when the aggressor doesn't look like me?" The room erupted, half applause, half outrage. Cameras zoomed in on her face, unflinching, defiant. The board chair raised his hand. "Enough. Until this is resolved, Alaya James is suspended, but we will open a formal investigation into the conduct of all parties involved, including the administration." Gasps rippled through the room. Hargrove's jaw clenched. Reporters pounced. Microphones thrust forward. "Principal Hargrove, did you ignore repeated complaints of bullying? Did you target Alaya because of her race?" "Interviews over," he barked, shoving past them. But the damage was done. That night, the news spread further. Clips of Alaya's defiance circulated with captions, "She fought back. Small-town racism exposed. Teen warrior or teen threat." Alaya scrolled through, expression unreadable. Amina sat beside her, whispering, "You're everywhere. People are marching in other towns now." Ezra entered, slow, heavy. The landline's been ringing nonstop. Reporters, threats, supporters. "We're in it now." Lena's voice shook. "This is tearing us apart." Alaya looked at her family, then out the window at the darkened fields. "No, this is the fire we had to walk through. Let it burn." Days later, poetic justice struck. The local paper ran an expose, leaked emails showing Hargrove had urged staff to contain the James girl before her behavior infects the school. Another revealed meetings with the bullies' parents, promising their daughters protection from disciplinary action. The town exploded. Some defended him, others demanded his resignation. Ed dinner. Ezra read the headline aloud. "Principal under fire for racism allegations." Alaya's lips curved, not into a smile, but into something harder. "Truth has sharp edges, and it always cuts through," Amina whispered. "But what happens now?" Alaya squeezed her hand. "Now we stand, because they can't bury us in silence anymore." That night, Alaya sat alone on the porch, the cicadas loud in the summer dark. For weeks, she'd been branded a monster, a threat, a danger, but now the cracks were showing in their walls. And for the first time, she allowed herself to imagine victory. Not peace, not safety, but justice. Ashes swirled in the air like ghosts of everything burned away. And in the ruins, Alaya whispered to herself, "I don't break. I never break." The town hall was standing room only. Reporters crowded the aisles, cameras stacked like rifles, signs bobbed above the crowd. "Justice for Alaya. End the cover-up. Protect our kids." Principal Hargrove sat stiff at the front table, sweat shining under the fluorescent lights. Beside him, the bullies' parents whispered furiously, faces pale with fear. Alaya and Amina entered with Ezra and Lena. The room erupted. Cheers, booze, the click of cameras. Hargrove slammed his gavel. "This hearing is not a circus." A voice shouted from the back. "It became one the moment you let kids be hunted in your halls." The room thundered with applause. The board chair rose. "We are here to address accusations of administrative misconduct, student bullying, and racial discrimination at this institution." Murmurs rippled. The chair adjusted his glasses. We have obtained communications between Principal Hargrove and staff, as well as testimony from multiple students. He read aloud. Contain the James girl. She is volatile, dangerous. We cannot allow her presence to taint the learning environment. Gasps filled the chamber. Reporters scribbled furiously. Hargrove barked. That was taken out of context. Another email was read. The girls involved in the incident are not to face disciplinary measures. Their families are influential. We will protect them. A roar shook the hall. Amina clutched Alaya's hand, whispering, They caught him. They really caught him. One by one, students were called. Some came trembling, eyes darting toward their parents. Others spoke steady, voices cracking open old wounds. He told us not to report anything. He said the James sisters were troublemakers. He laughed when we said the girls were being cornered. The bullies sat in the front row, faces pale. Their leader shifted under the weight of every eye. Finally, she snapped. We didn't even do anything that bad. It was just jokes. Everyone jokes. The crowd roared back, filming a crying girl. That's a joke to you. Reporters shouted questions, flashes, blinding. Ezra rose, voice booming. This is what happens when power protects itself, when truth is smothered under names like troublemaker. My daughters deserve better. Every child in this town deserves better. Applause thundered, echoing off the walls. Hargrove's face twisted. This is a witch hunt. I've served this community for 20 years. You'll destroy me over one girl's tantrum. Alaya stood, her voice slicing through the noise. Not a tantrum, a fight. A fight you never had the courage to stop. Gasps. Cameras snapped. Her words carried a weight the room couldn't shake. The board chair's voice was firm, effective immediately. Principal Hargrove is placed on leave, pending termination. The hall exploded. Cheers drowned out the shouts of his supporters. Reporters swarmed the exits, chasing after the fallen giant. Hargrove shoved past them, red-faced, spitting curses, but the cameras caught it all, every bitter word, every crack in his authority. The bullies' parents stood in fury, but their daughters' sobbing drowned their protests. For once, the spotlight was not on Alaya's fists, but on their lies. Outside, the night was alive with chants. Supporters waved signs, marching in the glow of streetlights. Justice for Alaya. Justice for Alaya. Amina clung to her sister, tears streaming. It's happening. They finally see. Alaya looked out over the sea of voices, her own steady, unshaken. No, they're beginning to see. The fight isn't over. Ezra placed a hand on her shoulder, pride softening his weary eyes. Tonight, the giant fell. And you, he paused, voice thick, you swung the stone. Later, at the farm, the family sat together on the porch. The air was heavy with smoke from bonfires burning in town. A strange mix of victory and unease. Lena whispered, It feels too big, like we've lit something we can't put out. Alaya stared at the horizon, where chants still carried faint on the wind. Good, let it burn. Amina leaned into her. Do you think it'll change things, really? Alaya tightened her grip on her sister's hand. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next year, but one giant fell tonight. And when one falls, others tremble. The cicadas buzzed. The night air pressed warm against their skin. For the first time, the weight wasn't crushing. For the first time, Alaya felt the ground beneath her feet shift not against her, but for her. And she knew the reckoning had only begun. The dust of the town hall hearing hadn't settled. Newspapers plastered Hargrove's face on every front page. Headlines screamed, Principal suspended amid racism scandal. Bullying culture exposed. James' sisters speak out. But the victory tasted strange. On the farm, life went on. Chores, cows, muddy boots, the same dirt roads winding into the horizon. Yet nothing was the same. Cars slowed at the edge of their fields now. Some honking in support, others rolling down windows to spit slurs. Anonymous letters piled in the mailbox, half thank yous, half threats. The world had come knocking, and it wasn't leaving. One evening, Amina sat at the kitchen table, scrolling on her phone. Tears welled in her eyes. They made fan art, she whispered. She turned the screen toward Alaya. Drawings of her mid-fight, fists raised, eyes blazing. Captions, warrior, unbroken. Alaya stared. That's not me. Yes, it is, Amina said softly. That's how they see you now. Ezra, washing his hands at the sink, muttered, Careful with that. They'll raise you up to date just to tear you down tomorrow. Alaya leaned back, voice steady. Then let them. I don't fight for how they see me. I fight for us. At school, the halls were quieter. The bullies slunk in shadows, phones kept low, teachers walked on eggshells, but the whispers never stopped. Monster, hero, crazy, brave, every step, Alaya carried the weight of 1,000 eyes. Mrs. Douglas stopped her one afternoon, face strained. You know, you've started something none of us can control. Alaya tilted her head. Good. Maybe it's time control slipped. The teacher's lips pressed into a thin line. Change comes slow, and it costs. Alaya's eyes didn't waver. So does silence. That night, Amina found her sister on the porch, staring out at the stars. You scare me, Amina admitted. Alaya turned. Why? Because you're not afraid of anything. And I am. Alaya's voice softened. I'm terrified, Mina. Every second. But I don't let it chain me. Amina leaned into her shoulder. Do you ever wish we could just disappear? Go somewhere no one knows us? Sometimes, Alaya whispered. But then I think if we disappear, they win. And if we stay, maybe someone else finds the courage to fight too. Amina was quiet a long time. Then she said, maybe that's why you were born first. Alaya smiled faintly, brushing a tear from her twin's cheek. Maybe. Weeks later, the board officially terminated Hargrove. His resignation letter leaked, bitter and unrepentant. The bullies were suspended after new evidence surfaced, screenshots of group chats mocking Amina, bragging about making her cry for the first time. The town couldn't look away. And though hatred still lingered, so did something else. Movement. Teachers began revising policies. Parents demanded anti-bullying reforms. Students whispered about organizing. The cracks in the old walls were widening. On a gray morning, Ezra gathered the family in the field. The air smelled of rain. We stood, he said simply, and we're still standing. That's what matters. Lena squeezed his hand. Amina leaned against Alaya, fragile but not broken. And Alaya looked out over the farm, over the land that had carried their ancestors' sweat and blood, and felt the ground steady beneath her feet. Tomorrow's coming, she murmured. Ezra nodded. It always does, Amina asked softly. And what if it's heavier than today? Alaya answered, voice strong, unshaken. Then we carry it. Together that night, alone in her room, Alaya wrote in her notebook. Not poetry, not a diary, just words like anchors. I don't break. I don't kneel. I don't vanish. The cicadas hummed outside. The farm creaked with familiar sounds, and for the first time, the weight of tomorrow didn't feel like a curse. It felt like a calling.